Hi, everyone. Sorry. I hope you're all well. Time for a live question and time on the boss's question time. If you've got any questions, you know what to do. Post them up on the side there in the box at the side there, and I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. And just to say as well that I am hoping to do more videos maybe in the next beginning of June. Probably that's probably the time that we'll look to do it. Be the middle of June time. Not exactly sure where the locations will be. They may be London based or they may be Prestatyn based. I've got to decide on that yet. Probably sometime around about mid June, I would say. So you know what to do. Post up any questions that you've got about on the buses, the TV series, the films, the actors, actresses, anything to do with the crew that worked on it, or the films or the filming locations, anything like that. Just post up and answer them for you as soon as I see them on the screen. Hope you're well as well, Martin. Hi, Jonathan. One thing I'm going to have to do shortly, I'm going to have to maybe start doing it soon. I want to try and compile all my film location photographs and all of that all into where it's easier to access. It's all a bit of a mishmash on my computer. It's really hard finding them all, and because I've got them in so many different folders and different locations across my computer, it can prove really difficult to find them all. And I want to try and put them into some sort of an order. Makes it easier for me when I come to post them up on Facebook when I do my run throughs of all the filming locations. It'll take some doing. I'm not too sure how I'll go about it. I might put them all into a Word document or something like that. And then hopefully it'll make it far easier for me to tap into each photograph that I've got. I mean, I've got somewhere up around about 450 now, I think it is. So any questions, you know what to do, post them up here and I'll answer them for you. No, they've not been cancelled. They were on over Christmas. I mean, 4 months or something like that. Not seeing them on the TV doesn't mean that they're cancelled by any means at all. But you shouldn't go expecting them like that. I can remember times when I've been on the TV when they didn't come up for a couple of years or something like that. Especially back, you're talking maybe about 5, 10, about maybe about 10 years ago. They weren't on the TV for about a couple of years. It's just, I suppose, you get to you've been spoiled by how often ITV repeat them that you expect them every 3, 4 months. It's a bit like your only Fools and Horses fans are exactly the same, I find, with Only Fools and Horses. If a Saturday goes past or a Sunday goes past and they haven't got Only Fools and Horses on the Gold channel, they go absolutely berserk about it. But it's only because that they're screened wall to wall on Gold. They've been doing it now for I don't know how long it is, maybe about a couple of years. It's just been nothing but back to back Only Fools and Horses on at the weekends. So the odd time that it doesn't happen, people think, oh, it's been taken off. Oh, this is terrible. It's no good. Yeah, just shouldn't come to expect them all to be on tap, if you see what I mean. But I mean, it doesn't really bother me anyway because I've got them. Nah, that's this woke brigade is a load of nonsense, man. It's nonsense. Total nonsense. People go on about this woke brigade because of it bare fact is those films are shown in the morning. That's when they tend to be shown when ITV3 show them. Bits that are cut out of them and all of that are cut out of them because they have to be. There's stuff in the films now that can't be shown before 9 o'clock at night. There's always been a watershed on TV. It's existed since God knows when it's existed. So they have to be cut off. That's the way this woke brigade have come from, and snowflake thing and all of that. It's all because they think there's bits being cut out of the films that never used to be. They've always been cut out of the films if they're shown before 9 o'clock at night. It's as simple as that. Because it's something in the UK that's existed since it's before even I was born in 1968, of a 9 o'clock watershed. There's things that just cannot be shown on TV before 9 o'clock, which may be a half a second split pair of women's breasts, or Olive's naked bum in the swimming pool. Well, it was a stand-in's naked bum anyway, not Olive's. They can't be shown. As simple as that. It's nudity before 9 o'clock at night. But if you want to watch them, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from on the DVDs. That's why I've got them all on DVD anyway. I can watch them whenever I want. But this woke brigade and all of that. The only thing that there is about that you could say about the woke brigade is if they couldn't make that sort of stuff now, I don't think, unless they were setting it a bit like they done it with Life on Mars. You remember Life on Mars about when did that came out? That came out about over 10 years ago now, I think, when that first came out. I think it was 2007, I think, when that came out, which was set back in the 1970s, and they were very non-PC about the humour that you saw in that, because it was supposed to be set back in the 1970s. That's the only way that you could get away with doing sort of stuff like that now, because there's constraints and all that on things. But stuff like On the Buses that was made back then, or your other stuff, they just don't. You can't screen it before 9 o'clock at night. It's simple. I mean, why do you think you don't see things like Poltergeist and things and all that? They're always on after 9 o'clock at night. No, you can watch On the Buses whenever you want. You've got a DVD, just watch them whenever you want. On the Buses is on the telly every morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So again, that's nonsense about that. You can watch them whenever you want. ITV show them at 9 o'clock in the morning. And the point is about all of these things. The point is about all of these things is that the good of them being shown on the telly is it brings new fans to it. That's the reason. It's not for the likes of me or the people that are on here that are maybe old enough to remember when it was actually made, because we know it all. We've seen it all. We've seen it about 20 times. The good of it being shown on the telly now, it's not for me to watch, because I can just watch on my DVD whenever I want. It's for new fans, ones that won't be, like, once I've kicked the bucket, and I won't be around. It's for the next generation of fans to pick up the baton and be fans and carry on watching it, and keeps On the Buses in the public eye. Then there's enough fans to watch it and see that it keeps itself on television and remains relevant. That's the reason why why the repeats are so good that you see them today. It's nothing to do with, they've cut out 0.25 of a second out of that there. That's not the point to it. We've all got the DVDs, or we should have anyway, and we can watch them whenever we want and all its fullness anyway. So the main reason I see the value of them being on TV and repeated now is for the promotion of the On the Buses to a new fan base out there. That's a whole idea to On the Buses repeats. I mean, I know of lots of people that from the events that were organised that have come along that weren't even born when On the Buses was shown when last aired on television. They were maybe born in the 1990s, and they're people that have been brought up on repeats. You see, that's the value of them being repeated on television. Yeah, that's right. They are, Martin. I mean, the same applies to all the Carry On films and all of that. They get repeated frequently. Yeah, hi James. Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. You? Well, that's it. That's what they're all there for, the DVDs and all that. I mean, I don't. I would say to anybody, get yourself the DVDs because you can watch them whenever you want. Um, and they're all in their entirety, all 74 episodes and the three spin-off films. So you've got them all there on tap. You can watch them whenever you want. Have I watched the fan made? Nah, not me because I know all of the stuff that's in it anyway. If you see what I mean. So I'm not bothered watching it. Nah. Um, John, it was not a case of whether she should have stayed on as a mother because it wasn't an option. The part was always intended for Dorothea. So it wasn't a matter of like should she have stayed on because Dorothea was always going to take on the role as soon as Sirius 2 got commissioned. They offered the part first to Dorothea, but she wasn't available for the first series. So Cicely Courtney stepped in, and then when the second series got commissioned, Dorothea was available and she took up the role. So it wasn't a matter of whether she should have stayed on or not because it wasn't really an option that was on the table, if you see what I mean, John. But Doris was about a mum. There's no two ways about that. Pleased to hear that, James. Yeah, they just sort of move it around, don't they? What they show on at weekends. I don't think there've been any nerves at all because it wouldn't have been any sort of in any way a poisonous snake that they had. Anyway, Scotty, it would have been totally safe that they had type of snake that they had used for it, no doubt. Yeah, that's like James, as I said, it wasn't a case of whether they should have kept Doris Sicely on. I mean, I know at one of my events anyway, at one of my events that Stuart Allen, the producer, sadly passed away now. Uh, he recalled about the situation with Sicely. He said he always felt that Doris gelled far better. There was far better chemistry with the rest of the cast with when Doris here took over. If you see what I mean, Sicely wasn't so much on the gelling side of it. I think in his words or something like that, he said that she always tended to do her own thing, offset and all that, whereas Doris was much closer with the rest of the cast members as well, which helps with the chemistry of the characters and all that. That's not to say Cicely didn't do a good job, because obviously she did, because she's done a good enough job to get the second series commissioned. Because obviously, when they done On the Buses, it was only for the 7 episodes. That's all that there was going to be. But then when it was such a success, then that is where the where it became where it got commissioned a second series. So Cicely played a part in ensuring that a second series was made, if you see what I mean. Oh, there was lots of comedy actors from those times and those and the Confessions films. If you look at it, like Bill Maynard, Doris, Lonnie Corbett was in some of them, Robin Asquith, all sorts of comedy actors and actresses. I think Liz Fraser was in one as well. I'd say that was the case for Jack's character in terms of age wise, but I think in one of the episodes, um, I think Stan's character, that might be the one where when he's talking about getting married, and he does say in one of the episodes, I'm not sure which one it is, he said he's almost 40 or something like that. So he's in his late 30s, we can take from that. I'd say Jack's supposed to be just a bit younger, maybe in his mid 30s, which wouldn't have been far from the truth with Bob, because I think he would have been around about 35 ish, around about the time that it started, 36. Um, I wouldn't say he's underrated, obviously. Like obviously Rowan Atkinson probably still gets talked about today, because he's still in stuff that's frequently shown today, if you see what I mean, on mainstream channels and all of that. Rowan Atkinson. Um, so I wouldn't say that he's underrated, if you see what I mean. Maybe forgotten a bit, that maybe help if we got a run somewhere of the rag trade as well, which he was in. That was what he was in, the rag trade, obviously, before he was in On the Buses. So it would be good to see a black and white rerun of the black and white episodes of the rag trade. No, I was too young to see that when it was shown. I think it was 1975 or something like that, 74, 75. It was probably only shown the once. But no, it hasn't survived. No, the wiped all copies. They did that with stuff that wasn't seen as going to be necessary to keep hold of back in those days, because your videotapes were so were like gold dust, if you know what I mean. So anything that they had that they thought, like, we won't be using that again, they just recorded over them, if you see what I mean. They used the tapes and all of that. So they never saved a copy of it, never saved the master copy, obviously, as well. So no, it certainly doesn't exist. Well, we don't actually see any lists of any great comedy performers, if you see what I mean. I mean, you do, but there's lots that you don't agree with anyway. I mean, there's lots of ones that you see they do a TV show about 50 greatest sitcoms or something like that, and some of the gross that ends up in the top 50 is is unbelievable, basically. So it's all just down to personal opinion, really, I suppose, about what you call a great performer. I mean, people today would say a great performer is somebody like I don't know, people that are in Mrs. Brown's Boys and all that, which I just don't rate at all, if you see what I mean. But that's just it. It's just down to opinion, really. Yeah, Rising Damp. Yeah, I love the Rising Damp too as well. Ray. I don't know what you mean by your favourite theme versions, Scotty. There was only one real theme. All right, they had a slower version and a speeded up version, but they were both the same theme music. So either or for the TV series didn't really matter to me myself. Yeah, Ray Leonard Rossiter was really great, but it was really, from what I've heard, it was really awkward to work with. Like, oh, they would definitely have to close the roads, Jonathan, for that scene because it was so intricate. Filming on a narrow bridge like that, definitely would have had to have closed it without a shadow of doubt. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you watch the film, like obviously there was by that time, I do believe Richard Beckinsale had just passed away, and they brought in Christopher Strowley to play Richard Beckinsale's part of Alan, and apparently Leonard Rossiter was telling them he wanted them to play the part like Richard Beckinsale played it, but that's not the way it works in acting. An actor's given a script and they have to portray the character as they see them. They can't say, oh, play this like Richard Beckinsale. You know, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But apparently he was given a real hard time on the show, on the making the film, Christopher Strowley. I don't think he really bothered it too much. If it was more work for them, I don't think it would really come into it. It wouldn't have been an issue really for late on in life to be given a role in such a high profile sitcom. I don't think that would be an issue at all myself. Yeah, that's right. I do believe it was like there was a lot of political differences between them because Leonard Roster was a staunch Labour man, if I remember rightly, and Francis de la Tour was a staunch Tory, so there was that friction there between them. Yeah, on the ferry, on the ferry shot, on the ferry itself, like in the cabin, that would have just been done on a studio set. That's all that was back at Elstree. And the shot that you see the ferry actually from a distance and the choppy water and all that, that would have just been stock footage that they had at studios. Well, all the outfits from the series, all that would have happened to them is they would have just been put back into wardrobe and perhaps used again. Like the bus uniforms would have been just totally like what's the word for it? Cannibalized and used again. Like if they needed one for like a gas man's uniform or something like that, would have just been taking off the insignia, putting on different insignia and all of that from the wardrobe. So a lot of the stuff that was from the TV series, that's all that would have happened to that. I do believe that they perhaps had the chance to. I know Anna Karen did. They offered her when it ended if she wanted to keep any of the any part, any costume like. So I would imagine that all of the cast that remained at the end of it got offered that chance. No, but I wouldn't say that Bob was typecast at all. I mean, he done lots of different varied stuff. It's not like he was just in sex farces or anything like that. Even on stage, he done Shakespeare work on stage and all of that. So I wouldn't say it was typecast. Probably when it came to the TV side of things, it was, but certainly not on stage. He had a whole load of varied stage roles on stage that he'd done. They had done Shakespeare, a lot of the classical stuff, and all of that as well. So, but TV, yeah. But if you say that the other actors won, well, Anna sort of like managed to go on to like stuff like EastEnders afterwards, if you see what I mean, which is more of a obviously a drama side of things. Obviously, Michael Robbins was always sort of like diverse anyway. So Michael, after on the buses, carried on done dramas, comedies, like as he had done before on the buses as well. So he was never really had that. If you think about Bob Grant when he came in on TV, his first real big hit was on the buses. He hadn't been seen anything since then. So that's probably what ingrained him in that role. Doris was different as well because Doris had had a bit of a hit role in Coronation Street back in the 60s. So she had diversified as well. But when Bob came onto TV, it was only what he was known from was on the buses because that was his hit straight away. If you see where I'm coming from there. Um, so it was sort of like hard for the likes of Bob like that. No, I've not met all of the main cast. Now, the only ones in the main cast I met was Anna, because most of them had all passed away by the time I started writing and doing my events and all of that. Of the main cast, of the ones that I would really like to have met, would have been Michael Robbins, because he was my favourite, and Bob, probably Bob Grant. Oh yeah, that's quite a classic Doctor Who that he's in there, Jonathan. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it gets um, related to a lot by Doctor Who fans. Sorry, Monsieur the Mark there, Scheme Team. It's not really unbelievable when you think about it, because omnibuses ended, you're talking 50 years ago now. So even if they had evolved lived a few years more, well, they wouldn't have anyway, because they would have all passed away by old age. Like Doris lived until she was, I think she was 92 or something like that when Doris passed. Reg was the same. He lived until he was into his 90s. Anna was 80 in her 80s, mid 80s, before her tragic death. So they all lived. The only one that really passed, the youngest to pass away, was Michael Robbins, and he was in his early 60s by that time as well. So it's not like if you look at Rise and Damp, I mean, Richard Beckinsale was only 30 something in his early 30s when he passed, which is absolutely incredible, really. I mean, Leonard Rossiter as well was only in his 50s, I think, late 50s when he passed. So it's sort of like the ages of them were like, they wouldn't have been around now today anyway, is the point that I'm making, because they're all past of old age, if you see what I mean. It's just the sad fact of how old the series is now, if you see what I mean. It's, as I say, it ended, it's near enough exactly 50 years since it ended, if you think about it. Well, it'll be 50 years next year, 49 years this May. I think it was the last episode went out on the 21st of May or something. Nah, definitely not, Jonathan. They wouldn't have been paid the same amount of money. Wasn't like where it was a level playing field. In any TV series, you've got different wage structures, different wage levels, and all of that. The start of the show, and who would have been paid the most without a shadow of a doubt, is Reg Varney. Then I think you would have found that probably the second most amount of money probably would have went to maybe Doris, because obviously she was the most established actress. She had been acting since the 1930s on films, and then on stage and on TV and films and all of that. So yeah, but it doesn't work like that. It works on the sort of like on the structure of it. It was all written as a vehicle for Reg Varney. So Reg would have got that, would have been paid the largest sum of money to get him into the role that it was intended for. So Reg would have commanded the highest wage without a shadow of a doubt. As I say, Doris was a well-established actress by then as well, so she probably would have come in with the second highest wage. When On the Buses ended and started, don't forget, your likes of Bob and Stephen and Anna were virtually unknowns, if you know what I mean. So their wage demands would have been nowhere near. When they got the wages that they got paid for, like say the first series, second series, they probably thought it was a great deal of amount of money that they were getting for what they had done before that, if you see what I mean. But in terms of your likes of what Reg earned, it was probably nothing. If you see what I mean, in comparison to what the lesser cast, if you will, or the main cast were getting. The business doesn't work like that, though, Scotty. The sad thing is, it's just that it's like your people often say this as well on your Carry On group. So why wasn't Dick Emery in a Carry On film? Why wasn't Leonard Rossiter? Because they don't move in those circles. Simple as. The cast of EastEnders are casting. They cast from a age base of they've got contacts, if you see what I mean, that wouldn't have been in Bob Grant's realm, who was more into stage roles, if you see what I mean. So he never had sort of like had any interest in it. He was happy enough doing his stage work anyway, if you see what I mean. So EastEnders weren't going to come to Bob Grant, who hadn't been on the TV for 40 years, and say, do you want a part in EastEnders, for example? Or sorry, it would have been about, by that time, it probably been about 20 years or something, 15, 20 years. It was all sort of like they were going for, like young talent, if you see what I mean. Yeah, that's a good point as well, Jonathan. There's that. I mean, the first time that he went AWOL was 1987, so I think that would be maybe about 2 years after the EastEnders started. So there's all stuff like that that you've got to factor into it as well. But it's like it annoys me when I see on people on like on Facebook groups about saying why wasn't Dick Emery in the Carry On film, or why wasn't Leonard Rossiter or David Jason or something. Doesn't work like that. Your casting members of the Carry On films were Peter Rogers and Gerald Thomas. They had their own ideas of who they wanted in the films. They had made films before the Carry On films, and they also done films out with the Carry On films, and they pulled their cast in from films like that if they had worked with them before, and then they'd introduce them into the cast. So it wasn't a case of like where they thought, "Oh yeah, Dick Emery's a good actor. I think I'm going to bring him in," because they built up a cast of established actors by that time. Especially the longer that ran the Carry On series, they had a fixed cast anyway. If you see what I mean, there's only so many roles if you think for things anyway to go around, and there's how many actors and actresses out there can only get so many into it. Plus, when you look at things like, especially the Carry On films was all about teamwork. So people often say, like, why wasn't Tony Hancock? And that's the one that I've heard. Why wasn't Tony Hancock in a Carry On film? Well, Tony Hancock was a bit. Well, he self-destructed in the end, Tony Hancock, because he wanted to be the star and didn't want anyone else to come along and steal the limelight, and that's why he got rid of Sid James and Kenneth Williams from his Hancock show, Hancock Half Hour. So he would never have worked in a Carry On environment because there was no real star member of the Carry On team, if you see what I mean. So there's reasons for things as well, like why certain people just don't fit in. Now, again, though, they have the other cast members already put aside for the Carry On films, and they had cast that the people that they had used before, and around that time anyway, you've got to remember, abroad '72, Anna would have been busy doing Carry On, the On the Buses stuff then, the On the Buses films. By that time, her career had really taken off. Don't forget when she done Carry On Camping, she hadn't even started on the Buses by that time. And the only other Carry On film that she was in was Loving, which was 1971, was it? Sorry to hear that, Cockmeister. Hope you're well over it anyway with the COVID. Um, we're just doing polls on the favourite episodes at the moment on my Facebook group, but for me, it's Brew It Yourself is my favourite episode. Um, The TV series often comes in for a lot of stick, and people say, "Oh, the films were much better." But what you've got to remember is the TV series hadn't been such a success, the films would never have happened. So they're a very important part of On the Buses. The TV series are a lot of they pulled a lot of the funny parts from the TV series and expanded them for the films as well. So it was a very important. The TV series was very important. I think they stand up very well to the spin-off films. Well, it wasn't exactly reusing the jokes anyway. People often say it's just reused, but there are subtle differences and they're extended. That's what the writers, I think, at one of our events as well, they said was a point to doing the films as well was it allowed them to expand on storylines and make them longer and more lavish stunts and things like you did with the bus crashing into the bus stop and all of that. They wouldn't have been able to do things like that in the TV series. So it's like the jokes were different that they had in there. Like obviously in the TV series, you didn't see the fuse and all that blown up thing. So there was nice subtle differences that made them good enough just to be different. It's the same with the, as you say, the radio control ones. Obviously, you didn't get the policeman on the beat in the TV series. You only got them contacting the airline, if you see what I mean. I'll send you the link in a minute. The Cockmeister. I'll just see if I can dig it out for you. There you go. That's the link there for you. I've just posted it to you, Cockmeister, for your for the my Facebook page. I don't think there would have really been any real difference in the costs, if you see what I mean. As in, they were all done to sort of like a strict budget, so there wouldn't have been any ones that were any more expensive. You might think that it might have been something like the one No Smoke Without Fire, because the bus goes on fire, but the bus was going to get scrapped anyway, so they didn't have to pay anything for that to happen, obviously. So I think they all were at a similar sort of budget. There wasn't any ones that they would have spent out any more than what they than any other ones, if you see what I mean. They're probably ones that they went out a lot on location for, which might have been on the omnibuses, because he travelled a fair bit for that. Obviously, that would have been all down to like petrol costs and all that to drive all the outside broadcast and equipment away down to Haywards Heath, which was a good way away from the studio. So I would have thought it might be that one, because they did do a lot of filming on location for that, just for on the reason of the amount of money it must have cost for petrol, for getting vans and all of that down there, and the cast down there. And just to say on that group that I posted the link to there, the Facebook group that I run, that's a group where you'll find all the, where I do my runs throughs of all the filming locations. Obviously, not doing that just now. That'll probably return around about the close season, if you will. Finished running through them, I think it was in about, I think it was around about February or March. Probably start running through them all again, and then maybe around the autumn sometime, August, September. So like that run through takes a few months, because there's in my database now there's about 450 filming locations, something like that. No, I wouldn't have said that that would ever happen, James, seeing them, because, as I say, the whole series was all geared around Reg Varney's character. That's why we don't really see Bob's family or Stephen Lewis's family, apart from later on once Reg had left. We got to see Blakey's mum in it, but it was all a vehicle for Reg Varney and the character Stan Butler. So all the rest were just there as to feed off of the Stan character, really. They didn't, I suppose, the writers, obviously it's a time scale as well to factor in. Even a minute, you might say it was, well, it would only been a minute, but minute or two, but that's a minute or two that was would get pushed towards all around, rotating around the Stan character. No, there were no other series. What happened was it wasn't cancelled. The LWT were ready to commission an eighth series, but the remaining cast by that time, which was Anna Karen, Doris Hare, Stephen Lewis, and Bob Grant, they all agreed amongst themselves that they didn't want to. It was a time to call time on the show. Obviously, they could see, they were smart enough to see that Reg had left, Michael had left. They could all sense. Obviously, it was still, I do believe it was still like polling in the top 20 of the TV charts. But obviously, it had fallen from where it was top 10 charts down into the teens and all of that. So they could see that the viewing figures were falling away as well at that time. And I've got an interview as well. I think it's the one, don't know if it's the one that I've got on here or it's another interview which I can't find anywhere. But Bob does say in it that like by the time the Series 7 was on, like him and Stephen were running out the ideas for scripts as well. So it's probably arrived at from various areas where they decided to call time on it. So it wasn't LWT that cancelled it. It was the remaining cast said, that's it, we're not going to do any more. I think everyone's seen that one, Scotty. That was filmed up at in Harrow. That scene, what's the name of the road again? Old Reading in Harrow. Yeah, Anna Callum was the last of the main cast to pass away. Yeah, obviously the last one. Yeah, that's like James. I mean, even in the rank trade, they had the same hairstyle. Even sort of like when you seen him on the Wogan show, it wasn't any different, and that was the way well into the early 1990s by that time. Yeah, I've got the full series, Jonathan. It's just the the omnibus edition that they brought out a few years back. I don't think it's available anymore. See if I can find a copy for it online. It's got extras on it. It's got as extras. It's got the just see if I can find it for you. I'm not sure if this is it here. No, that's not it. Just bear with me. Here it is. Just send you the link to now. Just like send you a link, and won't seem to let me send you. Hold on just now. Well, there's anyone anywhere. There's one out called the Complete Omnibus, and you get on that as an extra. You get all 7 series. You get the 3 spin-off films, and plus you get the whole of the spin-off series. Don't Drink the Waters extras on it as well. So it's not just the 7 series. You've got the 3 spin-off films plus Don't Drink the Water on it as well. But as I say, I don't think that's available anymore. So it might be places like eBay that you need to hunt around for that sort of thing. See if I can find another link for it. Doesn't seem to be sending me. Let's see. Now, obviously, ignore the price here as well of this because you can get it a lot cheaper if you hunt around the right places for it. But that's it there anyway. But you will be able to, if you look around, you'll be able to find it a lot cheaper than that. Obviously, that's because it's not been that's been discontinued. Like, do I think the series went on a series too long? In hindsight, probably yeah, but they were contracted to it, so the cast can't be argued. They all signed contracts for that series, if you see what I mean. So the hands are tied. They couldn't say we're not doing it anymore and decided against it because they were doing blackballed from the television industry, basically. Yeah, that's right. That yeah, it was Wilfred Bramble who was on holiday on the buses. Quite a cast in it as well. Obviously, you had Wilfred Bramble, you had Queenie Watts, you had Kate Williams, you had Henry McGee. So it's quite a strong cast that you had in there. apart from the main cast, that is. Or plus as well on that DVD link that I sent you there, Jonathan, sorry, it also had it's like sort of like footage of them opening up our housing estate, the cast, and that's also, I think it's got the TV version of the best pair of legs in the business in it as well on it. The Cockmeister, nah, I don't think so. I mean, me and my colleague that co-organise on the buses events, we spoke to Network Rail for Network Rail. That's me. That's me as a railway employee speaking there. Network Rail, a Freudian slip. Network DVD. Um, uh, the rights are owned by Studio Canal. We spoke to Studio Canal about a release for them. It would be Studio Canal we need to go to, but Studio Canal weren't up for doing anything like that for the 50th anniversary on the buses, which was 2019. So I can't see if they allow something like that to pass by without veto. And that's when you do these sorts of releases of things, you always do it to coincide with an anniversary of something. And obviously, you couldn't get any bigger than 50th anniversary. I mean, the next big one after that is the 100th anniversary, and we won't be here then to bandy it about anyway. So that was the time to do it, and they didn't do it. So I can't see why they would do it 2 years later when there's nothing really to say to celebrate 50 years of on the buses. You see what I mean? So I can't see it happening. As for the scripts and all that, who would have? It probably would have been obviously because Ronnie Wolf and Ronnie Chesney. It was their baby, obviously, but they had moved to the States by this time. Now they would have known that your likes of Bob and Stephen had writing experience anyway, and obviously then with the knowledge of the cast, the characters and all of that, and the humour used in on the buses would have been prime candidates to write the episodes as well. So it would have been a natural sort of like progression, if you see what I mean. Obviously, they brought in other writers as well to take up the workload, obviously, because Bob and Stephen were also having to rehearse the episodes. So obviously, they were busy enough. So they had other writers as well on hand, like George Layton, Jonathan Lynn, Gary Chambers, and Wally Malston, Miles Lodge. So they had other writers there ready on tap. Well, you've got to remember as well, they were working sort of, especially for Series 7, with a big handicap of, whereas they didn't have Michael Robbins and Reg Varney. So that was basically the reason why affected it the way that it did, if you see what I mean. Well, that was a dream sequence. That was on the omnibuses. Didn't do too badly in a recent poll that we done. Finished fourth in the Series 7 poll that we done, fourth best episode. So that's all down to opinions, really. Okay, James, thanks for popping in. Cheers for asking questions. Keep your questions coming in. I'll be online for about another 20 odd minutes. So we'll carry on till 7:30 where I'll be closing down. So get your questions in. No, it was early. It was a early 1990s. The Cockmeister. They were talking about bringing it back. It was called Back on the Buses. The script's in the back of this book here. If you don't know where you'll get a copy of that anymore, but it's in this book here, Ronnie Wolf, My Life and Memoirs. The script's in the back here. We can just. That's where the script is. It's in the back of the book there. So it's all in that book there. But it didn't come about for the simple reason as the funding fell through on it. It was going to be STV that were going to take it on. Why STV, you ask? Well, I would imagine they went to STV because STV had an executive producer there at that time by the name of Brian Izzard. Brian Izzard was somebody that they knew through, obviously, he had worked as producer on Series 6, 7 of On the Buses and Holiday on the Buses. So obviously they knew he'd know the merits and the strengths of the comedy and accept it, which it did get accepted. But of course, they didn't have the funds to carry through with it. No, there's no unearthed episodes of On the Buses out there. Nah. I'm not sure. It might be out on. I've got a feeling that it was released on DVD. Dodge Man. It was released on video. Sorry, I know for a fact it was released on video, but if you bear with me just now, and I'll see if I can find if it was released on DVD at all. You may even find that there's got like just wait just now. Just bear with me and I'll see if I can find it for you. Well, I take it this is it here. I'll send you the link. The Dodge Man 74. Sorry. That seems to be like an American company. Well, here's a lesser price for it as well, Dodge Man. I do believe that was an Elstree production as well. I think I'm right in saying. Tell a lie, that was Pinewood. Sorry, Pinewood. So keep your questions coming in. I'll answer them as soon as I see them on the screen. Be here until 7:30. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't eat Indian food, Scotty, so I couldn't tell you that. Somebody else will probably be able to do it for you. Yeah, definitely. Now Legoland, I think it closed down as a safari park in the 1980s. I think it was 19. It was either 1980s or early 1990s at the latest. 1992 it closed, Safari Park. So keep your questions coming in. Yeah, I've stayed in them. Just to bear in mind, though, the Ponton chalets, it's a common myth that people misunderstand. They never actually filmed in the chalets. All the chalet scenes from Holiday on the Buses were filmed back at the studios. So they never actually filmed inside the chalets, just filmed outside them. I've stayed in the chalets actually at Preston about probably about maybe 3 or 4 times. At least it might be a little bit more than that. Well, it's like I've said before, I've said it on my Facebook group. The reason behind it there is what you've got to remember that Pontins isn't owned by Fred Ponton anymore. Fred Ponton was the one who built the Pontins holiday camps way back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. But since towards the end of the 1970s, he sold it to, not sure, it was a brewery company, I think, or it might have been the company that done Coral's Bookmakers or something like that. And obviously, so since the late 1970s, it's been owned by a whole line of different new owners who just don't see it as they just see it as a cash cow. They don't want to spend any money on it, but they'll take in all the money they can from what it makes, but won't spend money refurbing it because it's not their baby, basically, if you see what I mean. Sad, but that's just the way that it is, really. I think it's Britannia Hotels that own them now, the holiday camps. So they're not going to spend out a heck of a lot of money onto something that they don't need to, if you see what I mean. What we would need for the situation to improve, I think, would either for it to be bought back by someone actually in the um, Ponton family, or failing that, it would have to be maybe somebody who specialises just in the um, sort of like holiday camp business, like if it was incorporated into Butlins or something like that. I don't know. That's the only way that I could really see money being spent on them. Even then, I would question whether much money would get spent. I mean, obviously, I know that they get bad press and all of that, but if you go and have a look on like the Facebook, if you look on the Facebook page, like they've got a page of just, and it's not like it's a Ponton's site that's promoting it. It's actually people that actually go there, and you get a fair number of people who have went there and they've said they've had a great time, and it's not as bad as what's painted. So there are people that are happy with the way things are, if you see what I mean. But it's everyone's own opinion and take on things, really, like anything in life. Oh yeah, stuff like they still got a swimming pool. It's not really changed at all. It's good to go in and have a wander around if you're looking to try and find some of the filming locations. Obviously, I've got a video up on my group page here about whereabouts if you go there. Everything is, if you see what I mean. Just see if I can find you a link to it. There's one that I've done a while back. It's just like a virtual tour, if you see what I mean. Just bear with me and I'll see if I can find it anywhere. I'll send you a link to it. That's there anyway. If you're going to look through the playlist, it's like a virtual tour. So you can always have a look at that. It's in amongst the playlist. If you go to back to the homepage, and you'll see it in amongst the playlist. Should be there somewhere. I'm just having trouble finding it just now. Probably getting for you now. Here it comes. That's the link to it there. Yeah, that was in Enfield, Jonathan, the first cash machine. Been past that, taking photographs of it as well. Mainly when I go back in to dip back into them, I find that I'm doing it maybe if I want to get another look at another a filming location that might not been able to pin down, and so pop it onto my computer. Yeah, it was in Enfield where they opened up the first machine. They've got a plaque next to it as well at the Barclays Bank. But I don't think that one is actually there anymore. The machine. I think they've moved the machines around to the other corner, the other side of the building. If you see what I mean. Right, so as I said at the start, I am hoping to do some more get out and about and record some live location videos that will add to the channel sometime in June. So maybe about a month away from doing that, less than a month now, maybe about a month away from now. Hopefully, I'll get out and about and manage to do some live location visit videos for you. But I'm going to call it a night now. Thanks to everyone, Scotty, Jonathan, Ray, the Cockmeister, and Fat Lad, James, all of you, Russell, all of you that posted up your questions. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll be back again soon with another live locations question time. So I'll say good night for now, okay? And take care. Good night.